Not even a few days after releasing my The Hatch review, there were leaks of a brand new Roblox event called the Takeover. Now, since I was fresh off of finishing talking about one event, I didn't exactly pay much attention to this one and just decided to forget about it until the event came around. I thought, I'll just get it over with within a weekend and then make a review about it. What I didn't know was that there was going to be 100 player teams for this event. This video isn't going to be a review of the Takeover per se. I will still give my thoughts on it separately, but that's not what I want to focus on. Instead, I actually want to talk about my experience with this event. In case you weren't already aware, I was the leader of the 8th crew in the Takeover, discreetly named the crew of all time. And I wanted to talk about the whole process that I had to go through as the leader of a high-ranking crew, and just show you what it was like to actively participate in an event like this. If you aren't aware of what the Takeover is, essentially it was an event similar to the events that came before it. Large selections of games with each game having 4 quests, whatever, but then there was the competition aspect to it. See, there was this neat feature called crews, and a crew can have 100 people. The quests I mentioned earlier give a certain amount of points, and whichever crew gets the most total points from doing quests wins. It sounds simple in theory, since you'd assume that the crew that completes the most quests wins, except for one peculiar feature of this event. You can redo quests and still earn credits. This is going to be very important, by the way. Among the 48 games featured in this event, each of them are split into 4 different areas, and those 4 areas are further split into 4 more sub-areas. These sub-areas can then be captured by the crews who earn the most points in the particular games within the sub-area in a 1-hour time frame. This is pretty much all that you need to know about the event structure. The concept is simple in theory, but in practice, a lot of new ideas can be explored. Now that we know how the event works, let's talk about how everything went down in my crew, going back to how it was originally made. A day before the event on September 11th, a day not known for many good things, I decided to check out the hub that was released for this event to see what it was about. Prior to this, I had basically zero knowledge of this event other than a few confirmed games, so when I found out that in order to fill a crew you needed 100 people, I got a little worried. I decided to ask a few friends of mine who I usually do events with to invite me to their crews. However, they all said that spots were already filled and that I should have just signed up earlier. Looking back, I probably should have just done exactly that, but anyway, while panicking and not finding any friends who were still crewless, I had an ingenious idea. Hey, how about I start a crew?
That's a brilliant idea, Scouthex. You're so smart and handsome, and you're so good at figuring out solutions.
Okay, that part didn't happen, but I did come up with the idea completely on the spot. Essentially, I would invite my viewers to join my crew for the event, as my reviews managed to rack up quite a decent amount of views, and if people watch event content, they probably care enough about events to, actually do them. I also decided to invite a YouTuber buddy of mine, 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, to also invite his viewers in order to combine forces. I didn't think my viewers would be enough to fill up the maximum people requirement, however, slowly but surely, within a few hours, we managed to get 100 members. I appointed a few people to help scout out members, including 𝗬𝗏, 𝗬𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, 𝗖cie_𝗿𝗴𝗀𝗀𝗀, and 𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, all friends of mine who I usually do events with, however they didn't abandon me and were in a similar situation. And so, now that we had our crew members in-game and in a brand new Discord server that I made to go along with our crew, we were ready to take over the event and perhaps get a top 100 spot or something similar. And so, the day of the event came. 2 hours before the event came out, the first game launched, and without any real plan, we instantly got to work. One thing I noticed pretty early on was that these quests are long and also surprisingly difficult. The first game I completed for the event was SpongeBob Tower Defense, and while this game wasn't too bad, I noticed that it took me and my friends well over 45 minutes to complete, and considering that there were nearly 50 games, I started to worry a little about how I'm going to go about this event. Eventually me, 𝗬𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, and 𝗧𝗏 tried to complete the Something Evil Will Happen quest, which took us over 2 hours, and in the end we didn't even fully complete the quest, which just goes to show how difficult this event was. Well anyway, the event launched, and upon release, our crew was actually 8th in the rankings, which was way higher than I ever expected for a crew I made from inviting random viewers. Afterwards, I completed a few more games like Tower of Hell and Natural Disaster Survival, and then our team discovered a strategy to farm points fairly early on. Essentially, Arsenal, for whatever reason, has a feature where you can create a 24/7 server that has a set game mode. Practically, it functions like a private server because it's pretty unlikely that anyone is going to join some random person's server when they can make their own. Now, the key thing that makes this feature useful to the event is that the quests still give you credits for completing it, and wouldn't you know it, the quests in Arsenal are extremely easy, with there being a quest that awards you 7 points for completing a match. So after a bit of testing, we found that creating a 24/7 server with clown infection was the most efficient way to do the master quest on, since the round ends as soon as everyone becomes a clown, and if there's only one other person in the server, yeah, that's not exactly a difficult achievement. This allowed us to farm a considerable amount of points, though it wouldn't be until the next day that we really took advantage of this method, since for now most people were still trying to get into the groove of the event. By the end of the day, we were actually in 10th place and weren't doing too bad in terms of the leaderboard rankings, even though a lot of us didn't really know what we were doing. The next day came, and since it was a Saturday, I continued playing the event and trying to 100% it. Later in the day, however, they released 3 prizes that really helped me start grinding points: the crowns. You guys remember the leaderboards I was talking about earlier? Well, they actually matter, since it turns out that the top 1,000 crews receive a cool little purple crown for their efforts. Now, since we were 19th place, everyone in our crew got this crown without breaking a sweat. However, the other crown required you to be top 1,000 in the solo credits leaderboard. And well, let's just say that I wasn't taking the credits part of the event very seriously. And so this is when I finally did that Arsenal method I talked about earlier and managed to get over 400 points within the span of an hour or two. In fact, the only reason I stopped grinding points was because the method got patched while I was doing it. However, by then I had already gathered enough points to get into the top 1,000 leaderboard and receive the crown. And then finally, the last prize. The one that inspired me making this entire video and unfortunately spending more time than I probably should have on this event: the Elite Crown. You see, the Elite Crown is given out to the top 5 crews, and our crew was already pretty high up on the leaderboards, so now the goal was to achieve the top 5 in the leaderboard in order to get the crown. Now, spoiler warning, we didn't even get close to the top 5, but you know, that's besides the point. What matters is that at this exact point, the crew went from just a silly little Scouthex and Stars and fan club to an actual participant in the event. Unfortunately though, at the same time as we found out about the Elite Crown, they patched our main method of farming points in Arsenal, so we were basically stranded without any real strategy. I personally continued doing the event normally, and most of our crew members did the same. Then came the next day, and a neat little event started that changed the trajectory of the entire event: 2x points. Essentially, for 24 hours, whenever you completed a challenge, you would get double the points that you would normally receive, and well, if you had a strategy that gave a crap ton of points per hour, yeah, I think you can see where I'm going with this. Unfortunately, we barely took advantage of this as we didn't have an efficient method of obtaining points, and so this caused us to fall behind in the leaderboards drastically, and at our lowest, we were at 20th place. Now, I knew that this couldn't last, so I decided to take action. When I first invited everyone to our crew, it was more of a first come, first served type of system rather than actually picking out members based on their ability to contribute, as, once again, we never expected to take this event that seriously. As a result of this, we had numerous people in our crew who had 0 points, and to get rid of them, I enforced a 50-point threshold. Essentially, anybody below a certain point sum would get kicked out of the crew in hopes of being replaced with a more active member. Gathering 50 points is extremely easy, as you only needed to do 1 or 2 games fully, which takes maybe 30 minutes if you do the right games. Then I decided to promote one of the most active crew members, Kitsune, to admin. They had already suggested a lot of things to help with management, and I felt like I could trust them, so it was a no-brainer for me. And lastly, I decided that it was time to take over an area. You see, we had been close to capturing random areas, including downtown, where we got 2nd place, and when the Arsenal method wasn't patched, we got 6th place despite being heavily disorganized and, quite frankly, bad. It would be a small victory at first, however, I believed that it would help put more faith into our crew. And so I decided that the best area to capture was Lecture Hall. Lecture Hall hosted Bayside High School, and its extreme quest was extremely easy to do. Essentially, you had to deal 20,000 damage to a boss. It was an extremely mindless quest that could be done in 5.5 minutes at max efficiency. It was the best we could come up with without actively grinding Tower of Hell or Superstar Racers. And so at 9 PM, I told everyone to get ready and farm Bayside High School. And it went alright, I guess. We managed to get 4th place, which was a complete failure as we were 11,000 points away from the 1st place team. Even though this attempt was a failure, we managed to get to the 16th place position in the crew leaderboard, so we didn't completely waste the 2x event. However, the real turning point came on the 4th day of the event. I knew that if we didn't capture an area soon, that people would lose hope and eventually abandon our crew. And so, I thought about it for a moment, and out of desperation, I decided to contact a few people from the top 5 crews and hopefully have them help us out, as either way there was no way for us to catch up to them and overtake their spot in the leaderboard. And this turned out to be an amazing idea, as now I had spies in several of the top crews feeding me valuable info about not just the best point farming strategies but also other information that would prove to be quite useful. However, at the same time, a crew member of ours, Classified, was doing some of his own work. While I knew that he was one of the top earners in our crew, I thought that he simply grinded Tower of Hell or some other game that required a lot of attention. However, after gaining nearly 5,000 points, he would go on to drop a bombshell in the general chat of our crew Discord server. A point farming method. However, there was a catch. You see, the game he grinded points in was Ultimate Mining Tycoon. The method he used was constantly doing the last challenge over and over again, which during the double points event awarded just over 16 points per minute. However, it required you to progress quite a lot into the game and a complicated setup, meaning that only really dedicated players would even bother with doing this method. I'd imagine that most people didn't want to waste their time, especially considering that the method could get patched at any moment. So while some people did go ahead and set up the strat and gain some points from it, it didn't have as much of an influence. Anyways, let's get back to my shenanigans. One of my spies sent me a cool little idea relating a particular game pass in Barry's prison run. You see, for whatever reason there is a human vacuum game pass which allows you to suck up people and technically transport them around. On an unrelated note, did you know that if you complete the game, you become a cop and can teleport around the different areas? I think you can see where I'm going with this. Unfortunately though, the devs did too, and so you can't do the final quest over and over again, but you can do the second quest. So here's what we did. One person with a human vacuum game pass completes the obby. Then we fill up the server with people from our crew. I would then suck these people up, teleport to the dungeon, and send them off to fight the Barry Knight. The person who did the quest would then rejoin and get sucked up again, and the cycle would repeat. If done effectively, it took about 20 seconds to do, and since the quest gives 3 points, that's about 9 points per minute. However, human error commonly led to the time being extended, so for the sake of convenience, let's say that we got about 7 points per minute doing this, which is 420 points per hour. If we filled a whole server of crew members to do this, or about 11 people minus the person teleporting, that would mean we could earn 4,620 points per hour. And so it was decided. At midnight, we would all collectively do this. A few crew members of mine, Math the Knight and Arthur, decided to join in on the fun and buy the vacuum game pass, meaning we could have 3 servers running this little point scheme. May I remind you that this was on a Monday and I had school the next day? This hour was the most intense hour I've ever spent and ever will spend in Barry's prisoner run, and we managed to gather 3,880 points, which placed us in 3rd place, over 2,000 away from lasagna. I mean, come on. They swooped in last second, by the way. It's not like we fought a losing battle the whole time. I don't even know what happened. And also, I may have lied to you a little, as there's actually a 1-minute cooldown between quests, meaning that we actually got 3 points per minute, or just 180 points an hour per person. This was soul crushing. It was one of my last hopes for getting everyone together to achieve a goal. If we couldn't capture a zone now, could we ever? Would people lose hope? Would this be the end of the dream to achieve top 5 or even top 10? Oh, looks like we captured Amphitheater. Wait. What? So apparently the area that we ended up capturing wasn't the one with Barry's prison run or Ultimate Mining Tycoon. Instead it was the one with Dig the Backyard, I guess? Now I'm not sure whether some bug occurred and we managed to accidentally capture an area, however that wasn't important. What mattered the most was that we finally captured our first area in the event, and now we finally got the ball rolling. And not only that, we went from 19th to 17th in just a day, meaning that progress was slowly beginning to accelerate. This was it. We were slowly breaking through and the crew of all time was beginning to become an important crew. However, I noticed that my sleep schedule was just terrible. I remember going to school the day after our Barry shenanigans all wobbly, and so I decided to take a small break from the event. On day 5, instead of actively grinding for points, I mostly focused on admin tasks for the crew, including me making a spreadsheet for the best point farms that we had discovered up to that point. Along with this, I decided to start replacing inactive members from our crew, as now obtaining points was really simple, and the current threshold of 150 points could realistically be achieved in an hour or so, meaning that the people below that threshold simply weren't playing the event. And so on day 6, I made a community post on my channel recruiting various new members who would end up contributing thousands of points, including Null and 𝗧𝗏𝗺 2010, 2 refugees from a lower ranking crew who switched sides to help us and ended up gathering 10,000 points each, with the latter even reaching the top 100 solo points leaderboard, and the former getting number 15 in total 𝗧𝗏𝗺 points and 4th in total Metro Stop points. There were a few more members like 𝐾HAOScraft54, TSD, and Dragon J who would also end up contributing thousands of points. We were getting so many new members who were active that I raised the threshold to be 400 points by Thursday. Even though it was tough to remove people from a crew, I had to do it to them. Let's just hope none of them want to join back later on. I also started finding more unethical ways of recruiting members. I went into Discord servers like the 3D Cave or Roblox events community and decided to recruit desperate refugees into my crew. In fact, I even managed to get a few members from simply joining public lobbies and redirecting them to our crew. I wasn't going to let that top 10 position slip away from me. I would do anything to achieve it. During day 6, we managed to rank up to the 15th spot on the leaderboard, and we were slowly inching towards the top 10, which to me felt like a goal that was good enough. It was already clear to me that we just weren't going to get top 5, because even if we did find a perfect strategy, who's to say other crews won't? Unfortunately, the elite crown wasn't going to be ours. However, that didn't mean that we were going to give up. I decided that I was going to give out a certain amount of Robux to the members who contributed the most points, mostly as a thank you rather than something serious. And I would only give out this prize money if we got into the top 10. Other than that though, there wasn't much that our crew was doing. A lot of people were just simply doing their quests, and because of the Capture Rush event, which allowed crews to capture areas every 15 minutes, we captured a crap ton of areas, allowing all of our crew members to obtain the crew prizes. However, everything would change on the 7th day. A day prior, one of our crew members, Raz, was simply doing his quest when he came across Carry an Egg. While doing the quest, he accidentally found out one peculiar feature. Whenever you leave your egg and go to a checkpoint, the egg teleports back to you. The next day, Raz would test out how he could take advantage of this feature, and he found a method so broken that it would cause other crews to beg for a method. However, we'll get to that. Here was the strategy. One person would be the carrier, and one person would be the egg. The carrier would start the master quest and drop the egg off. The carrier would then complete the rest of the obby without picking up the egg, jump over this wall, enter the desert checkpoint, and reclaim the egg. Then the carrier would scan the egg in the master quest stand, and both players would get 7 points each. What made this strategy so efficient was just how easy it was. The carrier only needed to do a really easy obby, and the egg would have to do literally nothing. That's right, people could do this quest while doing something else in the background, which made this quest completely overpowered. At some point later on, we also calculated the exact cooldown of the quest, which was 2 minutes and 40 seconds. This meant that we wouldn't have to constantly leave and rejoin and pray that the quest cooldown would reset, as we could just wait until the timer was at 2 minutes and 40 seconds and then complete the quest. This made the method even more overpowered, as now the egg could fully be AFK and only have to check in if the carrier died. Now, surely a method like this would be patched within hours, is what I thought to myself. I mean, every other method like this, including Barry's Prison Run, Arsenal, Super League Soccer, Doors, whatever game I could think of, got patched within hours of the method being discovered. With this assumption in mind, I told everyone in our crew server to grind the hell out of this quest and take advantage of it while it was still available. It also helped that we fully fleshed out this method when a 2x points event started, meaning we could earn 14 points every time we completed the quest, and taking into account the cooldown, it would earn 5.25 points per minute, or 315 points per hour, per person. We also found out that we could grind this quest in VIP servers, so we ended up making those in order to avoid any accidental detection from other crews, and also to just make finding partners for the quest a lot easier. And so, with this strategy, our domination began. We would start getting points extremely quickly, reaching 14th place with ease. On the same day, a few hours later, we would achieve 13th place, easily beating out both the Rallimons and OK crews, who seemed so far ahead just a day ago. However, the 12th place position was more than 40,000 points ahead, which we weren't sure about whether or not we could catch up. A day later, we managed to get 12th place! Yeah, the method was so overpowered that we were getting tens of thousands of points per day. We would also start slowly climbing up in the Artist's Alley leaderboard, achieving 4th place by the end of day 7, and the next day we managed to reach 2nd place, only behind 𝗧𝗏𝗀, who were somehow 200,000 points ahead of us. In fact, the strategy was so good that I even ended up on a leaderboard. Carry an Egg was in Metro Stop, and I managed to be 64th in terms of points there, and I wasn't the only one from our crew on the leaderboard. Essentially, we were completely dominating Artist's Alley, and this became the main strategy for everybody in our crew. Because of how easy it was to gain points, I increased the threshold to 800 points, and this would unintentionally end up being the final point threshold. Using the carry an egg method, you could AFK for just a little over 2 hours and achieve that point sum, meaning there were honestly no excuses to not grind points anymore. I would once again start kidnapping members from other crews and also accepting some from my own community to help out. Then day 8 came around, and we thought that we could take a small break from the event. However, there was another 2x points event, except the 2x would only apply to Master and Extreme quests. I mean, come on, it's like they made this event just for us. And so we would continue grinding, capturing Metro Stop back to back basically every time, and somehow we were left undetected and no other crew even attempted to find out what we were doing. We truly were the masters of blending in. Most of this day was simply dedicated to grinding the event, with only one deviation by me to try to find an alternate strategy in case Carry Net got patched. The strategy in question ended up being Creature of Cenaria's Master Quest, though it never ended up being important enough for anyone to do. Saturday came and it mostly went the same as Friday, as the 2x event still was going on. Considering that our gap between 12th and 11th was 35,000 points, we spent basically the whole day grinding out Carry an Egg in order to at least get close. The goal for today was top 10, as we thought that today was the last day where we would be able to catch up with anyone. And so we kept grinding, once again thinking that today would be the last day where we would have to seriously try. In fact, so many people were willing to grind that we filled up both of the VIP servers that Matthew had bought us. So I ended up buying a third VIP server. But of course, the event had other plans, as there was going to be one more event. And so we kept grinding, including me actually. In fact, I grinded for so long that I even managed to get over 1,300 points from Carry an Egg alone, once again, and now my total point count was over 4,000. By the end of the 2x event, we unfortunately didn't manage to rank up to 11th, though we were only a few thousand points away, so the dream still wasn't dead for our crew. However, most of our crew was curious about the new event, and most of us joined the lobby to check out what it was all about. And well, I'll let the reaction speak for itself.
Okay,
9,
I did it. Okay.
8,
7,
7,
Hub, hub.
6,
5, 4,
4,
3,
4,
2,
3,
1.
2,
1,
1.
0.
Oh?
Alright.
Okay.
Oh!
What the hell?
Why am I on
Okay.
it?
But
What is
The
that?
final showdown, every
has
district.
begun.
Check the
Oh my
district flag.
wait,
for
there's
hurry,
finale
this event
points?
ends in-
What?
Oh my
Any crew
God.
controlling a district when the finale
District
showdown wraps up.
capture?
Get on Carry an Egg! Get on Carry an Egg!
Oh yeah, I'm getting. Alright, well,
Yeah,
I gotta go back on
No,
Carry an Egg.
I need.
And so the grind continued. As a result of the new event, me and my crew bought a total of 4 new VIP servers. Yeah, that's not an exaggeration. And we had over 40 different people grinding the game at once. Along the grind, I had heard from one of my informants that the top crews were dividing up the areas for themselves, picking which areas to farm for the event. I wonder where I've heard of that concept before. However, our crew had other plans, and our strategy and sheer manpower was so insanely overpowered that we launched into first place as soon as the event started. Within the first hour, we already had a 4,000 point lead over second place. And so in order to not lose this lead, we kept grinding, hoping that no one would find our strategy and that no crew had a better one, and it seemed to be working. We rapidly rose, going up to 10,000 total finale points, and after a whole day of grinding, we finally settled in the number 11 spot, just 26,000 points away from our end goal. However, not everyone was exactly satisfied with us coming in and sweeping up the whole event out of nowhere. Now, I won't say exactly who, but let's just say that the top crews sent the Roblox police after us, and so I was forced to hide our whole operation in order to avoid losing out on our only chance to receive a rare event item. I firstly told my entire crew to turn their joins off, and later on I started playing random Artist Alley games to throw people off and not let them discover what we were doing. And surprisingly enough, it kinda worked, since 𝗧𝗏𝗧 thought we were doing Ultimate Mining Tycoon, which I was conveniently playing at the time they were checking out my account. Now, because of the fact that people were going to actively check my account, I decided not to directly help with point contribution. However, I decided to instead establish diplomacy between other top crews, making sure that they knew that we weren't exploiting and that our crews wouldn't fight each other. However, some of our crew members decided to try and take matters into their own hands and try to defend themselves, and let's just say, it went terribly. This is why you need lawyers, kids. Yes, I'm still talking about a Roblox event, by the way. At some point, the top crews decided to stop grinding Artist Alley and moved on to other areas, meaning we were basically left uncontested. Now, this didn't mean that our grinding slowed down, as not only could another crew swoop in and use our own method against us, but the method could also get patched, and if that were to happen, we wouldn't have many other options to grind points. We were still working under the belief that our strategy could be stripped away from us at any moment, but it never did. We just kept getting more and more points. At some point, Starzan put out an announcement saying that if anyone in our crew got over 1,000 points during the finale, he would personally give them 200 Robux, which only further encouraged people to keep grinding even if we had a huge lead. This was the perfect storm, and all we needed to do was survive the next 20-ish hours. And then came the final day, the day in which we'd find out whether we got the golden boombox. We already had a point lead of over 40,000, and the only way that we could lose out on the crown is if one of the top crews caught on to our method and had more manpower than us. We were completely dominant in Artist Alley, and the only thing that could truly stop us was Roblox themselves. Even though we had this huge lead, we continued grinding Carry an Egg, and I continued playing other Artist Alley games in order to avoid being suspected. At some point though, a few crews started catching on and realized what we were doing. A number of crews decided to try and go for Artist Alley, most notably King's Territory and 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀, two crews who believed we were exploiting and believed we would get disqualified. However, we would only find out later in the day. As time kept ticking down, we slowly rose to 50,000, 60,000, even 75,000 points. I even managed to earn 5,000 total points for my crew and ended up on the 27th position for the Metro Stop leaderboard. Just a little bit before the finale ended, we managed to get 8th place, which would be our final position on the leaderboard. Eventually, the timer was close to ending, and so me and 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝗀𝗃 did one last quest. After that, we gathered everyone from our crew into a lobby, and well, I'll let you watch the rest.
Wait, what if I walk?
Who the hell's this guy from Lava Crew?
Get on the
Someone
crate.
asked me if they could join our crew.
Is this guy stupid?
Yeah.
Wait, we have to count like New Year's, man.
16, 15, 14, 13, 12,
Yeah, what's up with the guy who was here with
10,
us? Like,
9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 1, 2, 1. What is an animation? What the hell?
I think it's gonna do it.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's just a Roblox.
Nah, bro, what the fuck?
4 zones.
4 zones.
zones.
What the heck?
Give me that, give me that, give me that.
Oh, got it.
Got it!
So many people.
It's a fucking shoulder pound! No, David's gonna get it. David's gonna get it. I'm gonna fucking...
Let's see here.
Hold on.
I thought it was the
Put it on,
golden one.
put it on.
The golden.
Wait, look in the hub! Look in the hub! Look
Which
in the
one?
hub! Our
What do
emblem
you
is
mean?
all over Artist Alley! Look
Oh
at the
my
Artist
God.
Alley!
Oh yeah, it is.
No, we got scammed.
Come on!
Listen, everyone gets
Are
like
you serious?
a boom box, but then we get like the weird
Oh.
boom box.
Yeah, we get the
Oh,
fucking
come
pit
on.
boombox.
Carry
So,
that.
anyone wants to test whether the carry NX still works?
What do you mean?
Yeah, guys, one more day, guys. One more day.
One more day.
egg. One more egg.
One day, one more day!
One more game. So, anyone want to play Fortnite or something? Bro.
I got it.
I don't have it. I don't have it. Fucking VIP.
I got it. Got it.
Join a new VIP server.
Wait, why am I not getting it?
You joined a new VIP server?
I joined your VIP server.
It's because you.
Try another one.
I got it, yes. Okay.
Alright.
I've already got the thing.
Got it.
We had done it. We managed to get one of the rarest Roblox prizes in event history. Of course, there are rarer prizes, but this is now the rarest item that I own, and I get to share it with the crew that I built. And well, I wanted to forever engrave my community, so after some time, I got everybody together for a group photo.
Oh my god.
Let's shut
Is
it.
the egg gonna be safe?
Egg, please.
Wait,
The egg is...
maybe?
it's getting harassed, dog.
Guys, stop touching the egg. You're gonna push it out
Stop
again.
touching each other.
Guys, could you gather closer to the center so it'd be like not one big line, but like instead one big crowd? There's also these like
what is
little
the-
areas up here you can go to. You can go on the roof, you can go on these,
Oh, I'm going
you
in-
can
I'm
go on
going
the
up
window.
Hey, who wants to connect with me?
Is no one gonna try and go to the trash can?
This is so cool.
This is
What?
where I was gonna be on my head.
People are in the game so far.
Wait, let me see how many people are in the server right now. There's 60. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna say how many people there are.
Can we all just type "We are the crew of all time" like in the chat?
Yeah,
yeah.
for real?
All right, everyone get. We are the crew of all time ready. All right.
Get it
Posted
ready.
in 10, 1, post.
You're the
Oh my god!
Guys, this truly was a crew of all time!
All time.
god.
Roll minute.
73 of us joined this.
We got a massive egg in here that we can roll around.
There is an egg over
my
here.
God.
Yeah, but this one's tiny.
Oh my gosh.
You say
Wait, did you guys push out the fucking egg?
Push it up. Yes!
No! How did you guys kill the egg?
Guys.
How is this even possible? After that, everybody went their separate ways. Most people were glad to finally put this event behind them. When we finally got the golden boot box, it felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. These 10 days were honestly stressful for me, as there were many moments where I wanted to just give up on the event. I was sacrificing my sleep, social life, and even my own health just for a stupid Roblox event. And yet, looking back, I don't regret a thing. Even though managing 100 people was difficult, I wouldn't have wanted it to be any different. After hearing about how some of the crews were managed from other other connections of mine, I was actually quite thankful as everyone was fairly respectful in our crew and cooperative, other than a few mishaps. I think the only thing that I'm sad about looking back is that I didn't take the event as seriously early on, which made us lose a huge lead, and we honestly could have gotten top 5 if we had locked in earlier. We had to play catch up throughout basically the entire event, and had I done a few things earlier, I probably could have taken our crew much further. However, I'm grateful that we have something to show for our effort. I guess I can truly say that this was the crew of all time. Except it's not quite over. I guess the now 9th position crew didn't exactly want to stay 9th and at some point almost overtook us, so a few members of ours gathered in Carry an Egg one last time, this time for real to avoid us losing our 8th place position. At some point, Emperor crew was only 200 points away from overtaking us, however, we managed to shoot up enough for them to back off. Alright, now it's actually over. The event concluded and we kept our 8th place position, yay. Also, as promised, I paid out our top 5 earners 1 Robux for every 10 points they gathered, and on screen is how much Robux they each got. Classified didn't want to take the full sum and wanted to share it with Raz, the person who discovered the method. However, Raz just never claimed his Robux for some reason. And also Sterism paid everyone out, so yeah, cool. That was the crew of all time, yada yada, let's move on to the next section already. Even though the story ends there, I want to still give my general thoughts on the event from the perspective of a reviewer. Now, because I was so busy with helping my crew and managing it, I didn't have the time to fully 100% the event. Well, okay, that's a lie. I definitely did have enough time, I just didn't want to. In my opinion, this event is just too hard. I understand that you're not meant to complete every single game in their quests, but I've completed every single quest in every other event and none of them even come close to the amount of grinding and just general time wasting as the Takeover. Take for example the first quest that I did, SpongeBob Tower Defense. In order to complete every quest in this game, you had to complete not 1, not 2, but 4 different tower defense rounds, which even with a 3x round speed feature took me over 45 minutes to do. And it's not because I was simply bad at the game, I only failed a round once or twice. But okay, maybe that's not a great example, since what else could a tower defense game like this one do? Musical Chairs is an example of a game that's just unnecessarily time consuming. Already, the first quest has you complete 2 full rounds, which usually take at least 5 minutes each. Then the next quest requires you to get top 3 in 3 rounds, which again takes a minimum of 15 minutes in a normal public lobby. This is only the second quest, by the way. There's 2 more after this. Oh wait, the next quest is a boss fight. Surely it's not going to be time consuming. This quest was miserable. Listen, I appreciate the effort from the developers and I'm in no way, shape or form trying to make fun of them, but did they even playtest this? Like, surely one playthrough of this boss would have been enough to tell that this boss fight is just not fun in any capacity. If you've been looking at the background footage, you might have noticed that the boss has barely lost any HP in the time that I've been yapping. Besides that, it's just way too difficult. I don't even know if a damageless run of this boss is possible, let alone a deathless run, or screw it, even a run that has under 5 deaths. It's just unnecessarily difficult, and the fact that you have infinite lives just removes any real reason to dodge the attacks and makes it more efficient for you to stand at the spawn and keep attacking the boss. And you guys want to know the worst part? There's a phase 2. Why is there a phase 2? After doing the 3rd quest, I didn't even bother with the final quest, since if the 3rd quest was this horrible, I didn't even want to know how bad this boss was on ludicrous mode. The only thing that's ludicrous about this boss fight is the fact that it will probably lead to carpal tunnel 5 years down the line. But alright, it's not like the quests were just time consuming, some of them were just way too difficult. Something Evil Will Happen is probably one of the best examples for this. The first 2 quests are easy enough, but the last 2 are just ridiculous to expect from a new player, or even an experienced group of people under 4. Seriously, surviving a difficulty 8 disaster is just insanely difficult, and don't even get me started on the boss fight, which is basically impossible without reviving your teammates constantly. I literally died, and when I was a ghost I kept dying over and over again. And all of this for what, 32 solo credits? After trying to complete this quest with Sterism and 𝗖cie, we eventually gave up and moved on to different games because this was just way too hard. A lot of the other quests suffered from this issue as well, like Regretivator, which required you to kill people, which is surprisingly difficult to do. However, the problem with these quests is that they could easily be cheesed by just getting a couple of alt accounts in a server, which is a huge issue because the whole point of this event is to grind it out, and when you can, you know, get easy points by cheesing the quest, it's less of a competition of skill, but rather who has more free time and dedication, if we can even call it that. And one more weird issue, the quests were extremely unbalanced. Some games just had really easy quests, most notably the aforementioned Carry an Egg, but also games like Arsenal, Superstar Racers, Tower of Hell, and Barry's Prison Run had quests that could be done with ease and within like 10 minutes, especially if you're already good at the games I mentioned. And while I don't mind these quests, I'd much rather prefer every quest like this, because at least then it makes every game more appealing to do for grinders rather than just a few obvious ones. I feel like it punishes the the games that decided to follow Roblox's set standards, although to be honest, I'm glad there were games that didn't follow them since gosh were they terrible. Essentially, completing this event was not an appealing option whatsoever. It just felt like a test of your patience rather than a showcase of cool games and the developers' creativity. I really felt like the developers were limited by the parameters of the quests being linear and redoable, which, come to think of it, didn't we have an event with linear quests that was also subpar? I guess Roblox doesn't learn from their mistakes, huh? But seriously, I really hope that the next event will have shorter quests. I feel like if the average length of a quest is more than 30 minutes, especially with the current format of double-digit game counts being in the event, then I just won't even bother with completing the events past the bare minimum anymore. I also feel like there was a lack of quests that stood out in this event. I mean, all of them basically boil down to playing the game normally, and unfortunately, even the games that did try something new like work at a pizza place just ended up being more frustrating than cool or fun. I feel like from a quest standpoint, the Takeover is probably the worst event that we've gotten, which I know I said about the last event, but I didn't expect them to hit a whole new low. And again, what's up with the hub? I guess this time the hub serves as more than just a teleporter to the different games, though it's still not much better. The hub, apart from like I said teleporting to other games, also shows off the crew's standings and a bunch of other statistics relating to the crews, so I guess it's a step in the right direction in terms of hub usefulness. One interesting thing about the hub that I feel like could have been explored more was the skating mechanic, because in its current state it seems extremely useless apart from rewarding like 1 solo credit upon skating on a rail. It looks like they put in quite a lot of effort into making the skating mechanic, as there's quite a lot of different features to it, yet the only reason I even used it was to travel between areas faster. I feel like one simple fix was to make different courses with the skateboard that give a certain amount of points for your team, similar to Tower of Hell's quests, but there's literally so many different things you can do with a mechanic like this. The prizes were also alright. I didn't pay much attention to the prizes you can normally get from the event, as they were so easy to get that it would probably take you an hour if you were in a decent crew. I think they look alright. The dead end sign looks nice, that one's probably one of my favorites, as well as the backpack. I think the XL spray bag is another great looking item. It genuinely looks like something I would buy for Robux if I had a skater outfit aesthetic, and I can say the same about the street ready roller. I generally don't have much to say about the prizes since they usually look good, and I've ran out of different adjectives that mean good, so I end up repeating myself constantly. I thought that the launcher wings were a really cool idea, although I don't really understand why they made them all at different heights by default. Are they meant to be worn all at once? Because if so, they don't really look that good together. Or are they meant to be worn separately? Yeah, probably not. Then in terms of the crowns, I actually really like them. The solo crown looks kind of meh, but the crew crown makes up for it completely. I mean, come on, it's a purple item, of course I'm gonna like it. This is genuinely my favorite prize from the event, and I wore it until the very end of the event, but honestly, I might consider wearing it occasionally. Unfortunately though, the golden boombox is not as good. When it first came out, it was attached to your shoulder, meaning it would awkwardly wobble around with your arm animation, however they thankfully fixed that. But even then, it's kind of I just don't really like the golden color. I feel like the normal version of the boombox looks so much cooler, and I feel like had they made that the grand prize, it would have been so much nicer. I mean, you literally get to kidnap the tutorial guy, how poetic is that? Instead, you kidnap his piss-colored little brother. So I guess to sum up my thoughts about this event, it was dreadful. The quests were the worst set of quests we've gotten for events so far, rivaling the hatch in my opinion. However, what it did do right were the prizes, or at least the amount of them. However, I feel like they should have been more spread out as they're too easy to get now. But that's about it really for the event, which means it's time to conclude this video. You know, to be honest, even though the event itself from an objective standpoint was bad, I think I'll always look back on this event fondly. The fact that I got to create an awesome community out of doing what I love, playing silly Roblox events, was an experience that can't be given a measly rating. I am honestly extremely proud of not just myself for somehow managing to keep this crew afloat when so many of the other crews died out, but also I'm proud of my crew who dedicated slightly too much time to this event. Classified, I really hope you got some decent sleep after the event. I'd honestly like to give a special thank you to everyone in the crew, especially to the admins who helped organize everything and recruit new members, to the expert earners who were 5 people who basically managed to give us nearly 20% of our point sum, to the over 40 top earners who all got 3,000 points each. I think the only thing I regret from this event was that there was a guy in our crew who wasn't grinding much because his arm was broken, though he was still trying and set up the ultimate mining tycoon strat, but due to spots being in high demand I decided to replace him. However, the guy I replaced him with ended up being even more inactive and posted stuff like this. It's safe to say I would have rather replaced him with an alt.
Wow, that truly was the story of all time. Except, I took too long to make this video. Now there's a new event in the leaks and nobody cares about the takeover anymore. Listen guys, making videos is hard. But anyway, remember everyone, stay in school, don't do drugs, and don't spend hours upon hours carrying a Roblox egg. You'll probably go insane. I'll see you in the next one.